Lewis Hamilton's latest comments about his relationship with Mercedes have gotten a lot of attention in the news, and it looks like the seven-time world champion still has his own problems when it comes to making the car better and it not going his way. But with a whole season ahead of them, and all the cards being on the table, is this the start for Mercedes to push more towards Russell's likes in 2024? If the W5 turns out to be fast, and more importantly, how will this affect the last season of Hamilton at Mercedes? Lewis Hamilton has recently remembered the moment that Mercedes shot an arrow through his heart and told him that he was wrong about the idea of the car. When he brought up his own worries about the W14, it was clear that Mercedes believed there's more speed to be pulled out of the Zero design, partly led by the ones who finish in Sao Paulo. And when Hamilton tried to point out the obvious mistakes, he was told that this time he's not right, and he should be following what the engineers say. Talking more about this matter, Hamilton went on to say, "I remember complaining to the team and being like, look, we have to make these changes, or else this is the path we're going to go on, and this is where we're going to end up. Please, please do something about it. I remember they said we know what we're doing. You're wrong." And that was definitely an interesting moment. I was like, okay, I'll step back. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Then when we got into the season, then we talked again and they said, oh, maybe you were right. This definitely hurts Hamilton, because if you think about it, this is a man who won 7 championships in his career, 6 of which are with Mercedes, 103 race wins. Do not come easy. And whether you're a fan of his work, Hamilton has left his mark on the sport, at least enough for him to be heard when it comes to the car design. On the other hand, Red Bull chasing a sigh. Mylar direction compared to Mercedes for the 2024 season does bring a bit of question marks as to whether or not the engineers in Brackley just had no idea how to make the back downforce work to the best window. But anyway, Hamilton left the team before he even tried out the W5 in Bahrain, talking about this matter more. Hamilton has remembered his feelings about sitting for the first time in the W14 after having a rough bouncing season with the W13, as he went on to say, "My goal is to get back on top and win a championship again, but then we get in the car in 23, and it's the evil sister of 2022. I can't really remember winning. It's been like forever, to be honest. I don't remember what that feeling is. It is what it is. We've just got to take it and just say that we did not get it right. We took the wrong choice and start taking big steps in the right direction before it's too late." The constant fighting between Wolff and Hamilton about the design of the car was shown in the trailer of last season's Drive to Survive, when Hamilton went on to say that unlike Wolff, he cannot be present in the team for 20 to 30 years, and that he's currently in the most precious years of his life. But the Austrian wanted to keep Hamilton for a longer time and used Aston Martin as an example when it comes to making big steps over a short time. Adding, for me personally, when you see the step that Aston Martin made over the winter, it shows that if we get it right with the idea of the car, the aero, and the balance, we can win a championship. But I don't want to wait until 2026 when we have the new engine and rules that, however, happened with Aston Martin, changing everything they know about the car, while Mercedes continued on the path that Hamilton called doomed. This is something that has been talked about by a lot of F1 experts, who went on to say that apart from Hamilton, the important engineers in Mercedes didn't have trust not only in Mike Elliott, but James Allison as well, because Loic Serra decided to leave the team. When it matters the most, it's highly believed that Hamilton was attracted by Serra as he saw the potential in Ferrari from 2025 onwards, especially with new rules that are going to be put on the sport from 2026. Now the situation is quite tricky because Wolff himself said that the main goal was to win the 8th championship with Hamilton in Mercedes only, and despite him thinking of the Brit as a close friend, it won't happen under any circumstances that he would help him once he steps out that door. Which makes sense, if you think about it. This goes to show that Mercedes have already chosen their new leader in George Russell, and whether or not the young Brit has what it takes to fight for a championship, time will tell. And there's a very difficult campaign ahead of him if he wants to prove to the team that he does have the qualities the team would need from him. But Hamilton would not bend his knee to anyone, and just because he's leaving the team at the end of the season, it doesn't mean that there will be any team orders when these two would start a fight on the track. As we saw last year in Qatar, they are not shy away from starting an in-team battle to prove that they have it in themselves to be the next champion for the Silver Arrows. But now the stakes are super high, and the situation has changed big time. Russell is on a mission to do better than Hamilton. Like he said with his own words, while the 7-time world champion would want to prove to Ferrari and to the entire F1 world that just because he's leaving the team it's not going to be in a losing way. When talking about this matter more, the 1997 world champion Jacques Villeneuve, as well as Jenson Button, believe that there will be a lot of fighting between Russell and Hamilton, especially with the new design, one that's been pushed more towards Hamilton's likes, despite him dropping the bombshell he did in the previous month. Adding to this matter, Jacques said, "Seeing how Mercedes will handle the fight between Russell and Hamilton will definitely be my best point of the 2024 season. Inside Mercedes, there's something wrong. Lewis no longer believes in the engineers. He no longer believes in Toto. The team, after all of the space and freedom they gave him, didn't expect such a goodbye. It was Mercedes that created Hamilton's image. They believe he would remain a spokesperson for life. But what Mercedes failed to realize is that this scenario was kind of written in the stars. Ever since the 2021 season ended first, because the team didn't listen to Hamilton when he was the loudest about the 2022 car design, and second, because they brought Russell as his teammate when he was clearly on a mission to win an 8th championship in the following years. Having Russell as his teammate would definitely make the situation harder to an extent that Hamilton didn't hope for, and while the future of the younger Brit was already decided in Mercedes, and there's no point in discussing that, the fact that they went against his wish and signed Russell anyway, leaving Bottas, is another pattern of disrespect that might have pushed Hamilton in another direction. For comparison, when talking about Hamilton's replacement, Wolff went on to say that the driver would have to be matching their main goal, and he would have to be a good teammate to Russell, which means that the team are already looking forward to build a new team around the young Brit. Maybe the results in Q2 gave Mercedes a wrong idea as to whether or not they could invest in Hamilton in the foreseeable future, because according to reports they weren't ready to give him the 2+1 contract that he was seeking, and the 1+1 option was the only one that was on the table for signing, not to mention the fact that Hamilton wanted to be a spokesperson for the sport, something that Mercedes have reportedly said no to, but Ferrari have agreed without any hesitation. While offering him nearly $100 million per year, the damage has been done, and the situation has settled down. The only thing that needs to be answered right now is whether or not Hamilton and Russell would have equal treatment in the 2024 season. It was already known that they could go head-to-head without any thought given. But if Mercedes wants to save some bridges for the future that is to come from 2025 onwards, they might want to tone down the treatment towards Hamilton. Be that as it may, the 7-time world champion will definitely make sure that he'll drive the wheels off the W5 if it gives an opportunity to win a championship. Somehow with the new design and the new invention of the front wing, especially now that the cockpit has been pulled back 100 mm due to his own request, with pre-season testing done, it's up to Mercedes to prove that they have what it takes in order to return to their glory days from the turbo hybrid era. However, the challenge is massive, and with the packages that Ferrari and Red Bull arrived in Bahrain, we can now understand what kind of mountain to climb Wolff was talking about when it comes to conquering this challenge. With this in mind, do you think that Hamilton's comments towards Mercedes are legitimate ones? More importantly, do you think that the team should have known better when not to listen to him and chase a design that would ultimately turn up to be a failure for their own liking? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, Make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.